This was the moment that defined him for millions. A single step, a single kick, and then silence. The world watched as Roberto Baggio, Italy's golden son, sent the ball flying high above the crossbar in Pasadena. In that instant, time froze, dreams shattered, and the man who carried a nation's hope was left standing alone beneath a merciless California sun. He didn't scream, he didn't cry, he simply bowed his head, not in defeat, but in dignity, because even in tragedy, some men remain beautiful before the glory. Early life, struggle. Long before the mist that broke a nation's heart, there was a boy in Caldogno, small, fragile, but burning inside. He wasn't born into privilege or promise, just dirt roads, a ball, and a dream too big for his tiny village. He dribbled until the sun disappeared behind the hills, carving magic from nothing but passion. When others saw a kid playing, fate saw a boy rehearsing for immortality. But life has a cruel way of testing the chosen. At 16, his knee shattered, ligaments torn, doctors whispering he may never play again. For most, that's the end. For Baggio, it was the beginning of everything. Long before the world knew his name, there was a small-town boy in Caldogno, Veneto, chasing dreams on cracked concrete and dusty fields. He wasn't built like a warrior. He was slender, fragile, almost delicate. But every time his foot met the ball, the world around him changed. The game was his escape, his prayer, his entire reason for breathing. While others chased fame, young Roberto chased freedom, the kind only football could give. By the age of 13, his talent was no secret. He joined Calcio Vicenza, a modest club nestled in the heart of Italy's lower leagues. It wasn't glamour, it wasn't glory, but it was a beginning. In the youth ranks of Vicenza, Baggio began weaving dreams into reality. Every touch, every dribble was a glimpse of something extraordinary, a promise whispered to the future soon. Scouts began to whisper too. They saw the boy with the soft touch and sharp mind, the one who could see passes others couldn't even imagine. At 17, the first team call came. The stadium was small, the lights dim, but the magic was bright. Baggio scored 12 goals in just 10 matches. A revelation, a prodigy, a spark that couldn't be ignored. But fate, cruel as ever, was watching. On May 5th, 1985, a brutal tackle tore through his right knee like lightning. Ligaments destroyed, meniscus shattered. His career, they said, was over before it even began. He was barely 18. The boy who was supposed to paint Italy's future now lay in a hospital bed, his dream bleeding quietly beside him. Fiorentina came next, but not without fear. They had seen the tapes, the brilliance, the raw magic. But they also saw the medical reports. Severe knee injury, high risk, fragile. Still, they signed him, because some talents are too divine to ignore, even when cursed. The deal came with a warning. He might never play again. But Florence didn't sign a footballer that day. They signed faith itself. And so, with his knee stitched by hope and his heart burning brighter than pain, Roberto Baggio took his first step into destiny. It wasn't just a transfer, it was resurrection. He had lost almost everything, except the will to rise again. And from that fragile leg, a legend would be born. He fought through pain, prayer, and patience. Every kick, a silent rebellion against destiny. And as the scars healed, so did his legend. The rise begins. Hope awakens. Fiorentina, a club, a city, a canvas waiting for a painter. And Baggio didn't just play football, he painted it grace, touch, intelligence, like poetry in motion. Every goal was a sonnet, every pass a prayer. The Viola fans saw not just a player, but a prophet. And soon, Italy did too. But with brilliance came betrayal. In 1990, Fiorentina sold their star to Juventus, and the city erupted in chaos. Fans rioted, tears fell, love turned into ashes. Yet amidst the storm, Baggio remained calm, silent as always, humble as ever. Because he knew destiny had a larger stage prepared Fiorentina, the city of art, love, and unshakable passion. When they signed Roberto Baggio from Vicenza, they weren't just buying a footballer, they were buying a miracle stitched together with hope and risk. The doctors warned them. He's fragile, his knee may never hold. But Florence believed. They saw something sacred in that right foot, something worth every gamble, but destiny, as always, asked for a price. In his very first season, Baggio's body betrayed him again. The same knee that nearly ended his life in Vicenza flared up, swelling, screaming, breaking his rhythm. He missed large stretches of the 1985 to 86 and 1986 to 87 seasons, sidelined as Fiorentina fought battles without their brightest jewel. Each recovery was followed by another setback, a cruel pattern that nearly broke his spirit. While others played under the stadium lights, Baggio watched from the shadows, whispering promises to himself. One day, I'll make them remember me. Then came 1988, finally fit, finally free, he began to dance again.
Every touch dripped elegance, every goal sang poetry. He scored against Napoli, against Milan, against the very giants that once ignored him. Florence fell in love, deeply, dangerously. The city painted murals, sang his name, and called him
Il Divin Codino, the divine ponytail. He didn't just score, he enchanted that unforgettable solo run against Napoli in 1989, weaving past defenders. Calm finish was pure theater. It was the moment everyone knew. The boy who was almost broken was now reborn. Fiorentina had given him everything: belief, patience, and time, and Baggio repaid them with beauty. But football is never kind to fairy tales. By 1990, Juventus came knocking. Italy's most powerful club, armed with money and ambition. Fiorentina didn't want to sell. The fans begged, but the club's debts whispered louder than love. When the deal went through, the city erupted into chaos. Streets burned, tears fell, and riots shook Florence, all because their hero had been sold to their greatest enemy. And as the smoke rose above the city that once adored him, Roberto Baggio walked away quietly, heart heavy, soul divided. He didn't leave because he wanted to. He left because destiny demanded a bigger stage. But even as he stepped into Turin, one truth followed him like a shadow. Florence had given him life, and he had left them with pain. The weight of a nation, rise to stardom continues. Turin was different. The expectations were heavier, the pressure unrelenting. But Roberto Baggio thrived in chaos. He scored goals that defied geometry, free kicks that felt like prayers whispered into heaven. The ponytail became a symbol of grace, of defiance, of beauty under fire. In 1993, he conquered Europe, a UEFA Cup, a Ballon d'Or, a FIFA World Player of the Year. The world finally bowed to his genius, and just when it seemed the script was complete, destiny whispered again, "Your greatest test is yet to come." World Cup 94, heaven or hell, the summer sun of America. A nation's hope stitched on the blue of Italy's jersey, and at its heart, Baggio. He carried Italy through the storm. Late goals against Nigeria, Spain, Bulgaria. Miracles carved from exhaustion. Every touch, a defiance of pain. Every goal, a lifeline. He played through injury, through agony, through fear. It wasn't just football anymore. It was survival. And yet, he smiled. He dragged Italy to the final on one leg. 90 minutes, 120. Still he stood. Then came the penalties, the cruel lottery of gods and mortals. And when his turn came and the world held its breath, one step, one strike, over the bar. The dream shattered, and in that silence Italy wept. The fall. Hero turned ghost. He had the world at his feet, then it all crumbled. The mist became his shadow. Newspapers turned poetic with cruelty. The man who betrayed a nation. The fallen angel. But what they didn't see was the man who kept playing, who kept believing, who carried the pain quietly and turned it into peace. At Milan, he fought to prove he wasn't finished. At Bologna, he revived the art of grace. At Brescia, he became a mentor, no longer chasing fame, just chasing joy. He didn't run from his past, he walked through it. The philosophy of a broken genius? Reflection within the fall. Roberto Baggio was more than a footballer. He was a monk trapped in a stadium, a philosopher wearing boots instead of robes. He spoke softly, smiled gently, and prayed often. He found solace in Buddhism, peace in silence, because the world screamed his failure louder than his triumphs. But Baggio understood something deeper, that greatness is not in winning, it's in enduring. The crossbar didn't define him. His response did. Redemption, the man who never fell. In the twilight of his career, Baggio wore blue again, not for glory, but for honor. He returned to the national team, not as a savior, but as a survivor. Every touch carried years of pain. Every smile hid a history of scars. Yet when he stepped on the pitch, the world remembered, beauty still lived in his feet. He may not have lifted the World Cup, but he lifted millions of spirits who saw in him the truth of football. That it's not just about winning, it's about feeling. When he retired in 2004, the stadium didn't roar. It wept. Legacy, the eternal number 10. They say time heals everything, but time could never erase Baggio. He remains the eternal number 10, the artist who turned pain into poetry, the man who missed a penalty and still became immortal. In Italy, children still whisper his name with reverence. In Japan, monks know his story. In Brazil, fans respect his grace even in defeat. Because football, at its core, is not about perfection, it's about humanity.
And Roberto Baggio was its purest form. He carried Italy, he carried beauty, and when the world turned away, he didn't fall. He died standing. The next chapter awaits. He was the fallen angel who never stopped believing, a man who turned failure into faith and defeat into dignity. And as his story ends, one truth remains. Heroes are not made by victory. They are made by the moments they choose to rise after falling. But if you think Roberto Baggio's story was tragic, wait till you hear the night when football itself died, the day Diego Maradona left the world.